What's up world, it's Utopia back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Diablo 4. And I wouldn't have been able to make this build without the extensive tool sets that I use, that being today's video sponsor. Mobile Linux is an insanely intuitive and innovative app that lets you deep dive into an incredible amount of useful tools for all your build creation needs. And this free application, and yes you heard me right, it is completely free. This app has helped me so much with my build creations and comparing and contrasting different statistics. I was able to find incredibly interesting and different unique builds compared to mine, and even got to try out Crypt's ultimate fire sword. I love being able to glance over at my stat priorities and build priorities just right within the game. And the new highly anticipated build planner is available now to use directly in-app. And this allows me to completely redefine my build and plan out new strategies without having to use any of my precious gold. Again, you can download for free using my link down below. Thank you again to Mobile Linux for sponsoring this video. Okay, so let's just jump right into the build. I have the Paragon board fully maxed out, as well as the skill tree and even some equipment that we'll go over. Again, this is without any uber uniques or anything like that. There are a few uniques, but they only tie in slightly, with just the one being the main tie-in. Okay, so let's just jump right into the skill tree, as this is the easiest one to get through. We're going to go 2 of 2 in Firebolt. Again, you really just need to have 2 points here. We're going to have 1 into Firebolt, as we want that burning damage. However, we're probably not going to use that as a skill enchantment that I'll go over later. Jumping over, we're going to get 5 of 5 Frozen Orb, and then we're going to go into Enhanced Frozen Orb, and then Greater Frozen Orb. Of course, if you can get equipment with more Frozen Orb, you definitely want to use that. We'll go 1 and 3 into Devastation, so that we can get Elemental Dominance, which we'll put 2 points into. Jumping over, we'll get 1 point into Flame Shield. We'll jump over to Teleport, where we'll get 1 point in Teleport, and then Enhanced Teleport. Shimmering Teleport, I do like this one for the damage reduction that will be applied during dungeons and will really help out with that overall. Since you are teleporting quite often, you will get this up quite frequently. We'll go 3 of 3 into Glass Cannon, and then we will go into Ice Armor, which will jump into Enhanced Iced Armor for that mana regen, and Mystical Ice Armor, where we will deal additional damage to frozen enemies with that. Mystical Ice Armor is going to provide a nice damage output. We'll go 1 of 3 into Elemental Attunement. This is just to get that defensive skill reset there on the lucky hit chance. Jumping over, we'll go 1 into Ice Blades, and then we'll jump over into Enhanced Ice Blade, as well as into Summoned Ice Blades. Jumping over to the right here, we'll go to 1 of 3 of Align the Elements, with 3 of 3 on Mana Shield, and 3 of 3 of Protection, which will give us that barrier damage or barrier damage reduction. This is a big one here, Conjuration Mastery. We want to go 3 of 3 into this, and hopefully you have any item contributions. This can get you up to 3 of 3 out of it, or 6 of 3 rather. So far, I just have it at 5 of 3, but we'll go over later why this is so important. Jumping over, we'll get Icy Veil, as we do want the barrier to have the increased duration, as that will give us more damage with some of our legendaries that tie into this. We'll jump over, get 1 of 3 into Inner Flame, so that way we can get 3 of 3 into Devouring Blaze. As always, most Sorcerer builds are going to take Devouring Blaze. Last little panel here, we're going to get 3 of 3 into Permafrost, and then 3 of 3 into Icy Touch, as well as 3 of 3 into Hoarfrost. Jumping down to our ultimate, we're going to take Inferno and then Prime Inferno. We're going to skip out on Supreme Inferno, as this is not going to help us at all, as we don't have any Pyromancy skills that cost mana, that is, at least with our Flame Shield. And then jumping down last but not least, we are going to take Avalanche over our Shatter. That should cover it for our skill tree. The reason why we're taking Conjuration Mastery is we're going to go over to Skill Assignment now, and we're going to look at this really quickly. Of course, we want Frozen Orb Enchantment. However, we're going to be taking the Ice Blades Enchantment as well. You can swap this out for Fire Bolt, as it does also work with the build. However, with our Enchantment Mastery here, or the enchantments, we're going to go into the Conjuration Master, which is going to allow this damage increase, and you'll see this here with a little bit of gameplay. You'll see that our Enchantment Mastery will pick up as we spawn more Ice Blades. We're going to get more and more of this stack here. As we are using more and more cooldowns, we can eventually get this stack up to even 9 and even 10 as we use more and more cooldowns here, and then spawn more and more Ice Blades. Eventually we'll get this up to 9 and 10, and we'll get a nice decent stack there, and that's going to help us. And also our Conjuration stuff that's applying, we're also going to be using Inferno here, so we're going to be doing fire damage already. Also Flame Shield going through enemies, we're going to be able to apply fire there. And as well, when we do have those Conjurations being randomized or randomly spawned, they will spawn into the Summoning Hydra, which will then apply fire, so we're going to get that fire damage out that way, as we do have fire damage in our Paragon board, so we don't need it necessarily with this enchantment, although you are more than welcome to swap this out for that one if you do feel that you get more damage out with Firebolt. Jumping over to our equipment quickly, because this is going to tie into a lot of our stuff here. We're going to take the Crowd Control, deal less damage on our helm. We're going to take this Conjuration skill, grants you damage reduction, as we want a lot of damage reduction with this class. Sorc needs it definitely. We're going to do the increased damage on vulnerability. For our legs, I like this one. You can swap this out for something different. Right now, I use this one because it gives me the max resource, and also every time I teleport, I do gain 50 on my primary resource there, and I also deal increased damage, so Tybalt's Well is pretty good there. Not totally utilized, since we don't have the bats anymore like we did back in season 2, and also with our amulet having to be a slot for a unique, we won't be able to get the bats, but that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and take that there. Then for our boots, I'm gonna take Yen's Blessing, as this is a really nice one here. This is gonna give us a chance to cast a skill with a non-mobility skill, a non-ultimate skill that is currently on cooldown. This effect can happen every 8 seconds, and this is a pretty decent boot here where we get some primary resource regeneration and some damage reduction from close enemies. Jumping over to our weapon, we're going to take Frozen Orb on it because it explodes 2 times additionally there. Jumping over to our bread and butter, it is the amulet here. Now we're going to need this one for this build. This is definitely a must. You can farm this from Lord Zur. He will have a chance to drop this one. It did take me quite a while to get this one here. This is going to give us Conjuration Mastery, as well as that Frozen Orb is going to allow random Conjurations to spawn, which is also going to tie into some of our damage there with Conjurations and our Frozen Orb. This is kind of a must, and basically a must for this build, at least if you wanted to have it operating appropriately. Next up, this is pretty much on every Sorcerer's build, the Tal Rashaw's Iridescent Loop Ring is really good. You're really going to want to use this one. Again, you can farm this from Varshan. Varshan will have this chance to drop this ring, so if you do need that boss, or if you do need this ring, I would definitely farm Varshan for this because he will drop that ring. And then last up here, we're going to take this Ice Blades, applies vulnerability, and it has an increased duration there, and we also gain some vulnerability damage there, which is a multiplicative damage. That's going to help us increase our damage even further. We're also going to take deal increased barrier damage. Again, another X multiplier, which is with our barriers. That's also tied into a lot of our stuff on our skill tree where we increase the barrier duration. Jumping over to our Paragon board. Now this has finally been revamped and I've redone it, and we have 7 boards here in total, and we do have all damage multipliers for our board. So I'll go over those briefly, but you can check the description down below for the build guide itself where you can see the Paragon board in its entirety. We're going to take Elementus on our first little check here, then we're going to jump over into our second board here where we're going to take Frigid Fate, and we're going to take the vulnerability damage, and that's going to give us another X multiplier. We're also going to take Icefall for our third board, and then jumping into our Glyph socket here, we're going to take Winter, which is going to give us another X multiplier. Jumping over to our fourth board, we're going to take Burning Instinct for our fourth board, which is then going to go into the Glyph socket. Flame Feeder, another X multiplier. For our fifth board, we are going to take Elemental Summoner, and that is going to lead into Tactician, which is another defensive thing here. This is also going to apply some Conjuration damage on this board as well, because of Tactician giving us that additional bonus there with that, but that X multiplier is the most important. Our sixth board here, we're going to jump into Enchantment Master, which we're then going to use the Glyph socket Destruction, and again, as always, it's going to be another X multiplier with our critical strikes being that there. Last but not least, we are going to take Ceaseless Conduit, and we are going to take our last X multiplier, which is Control. Now, if you are feeling like you need a bit of damage reduction, there is a barrier one that you can take, which is Reinforced. However, I like to increase my damage even further, and this is kind of essentially basically what you're going to do to get all of those X multiplier damages on the Paragon board. You could maybe work out and get an 8th board there. However, for now, this is more than likely the most optimized that I can get this. I will work on this a bit more if I can. I'm going to have all the build link and stuff down below if you want to see it all showcased with the Nightmare Dungeons and the Pit. This is able to push a pretty high pit as of right now, and as well as that survivability there, you're going to have a lot of survivability. You really want to focus on getting the health increase here, or the armor increase. And again, remember the armor cap is 9,300, so you want to be around 9,300 armor, and then your life, you do want around 20k, 15 to 20k life, depending on how high of pit you're pushing. However, you're going to have to do that slowly with master working, as well as getting the maximum life from gems. Overall, that should about cover for today's video. If you like and subscribe, and until the next one. Deuces.